All right, there we go. Okay, so Dollyah, thank you so much for asking me to interview you.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to trying this. I've never done anything like this before. I am very new in my own author journey. So I definitely Googled author questions. I was just like, I don't know, I'm drawing a total blank. I have no clue what to think. I'm an author. I should be able to put words together, but here we go. So anyway, so I came up, I think I have about 10 questions. All right.
Perfect. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So, where do you get your book ideas from?
So initially, when I started writing, well, first off, I write all the time. I've been writing since I was a kid, and I just write about things. And so I have a very big imagination. Toy Story is like right up my alley. I believe things come alive. Like I'm just weird. It's cool. I've earned it. So I own it. It's cool. So with that in mind, I always invent little characters. Like there's always a story in everything for me. And so recently I had this thought that I actually, Worth the Wood was the first one that I published because it is something that I'm a manager. Well, I was a manager, now I'm a regional. But I used to always tell my staff that they were worth the wood. And what that meant to me was, cutting a tree is not easy when I learned that. And so you keep chopping at a tree because it is worth the wood you're going to get from it. So when I would have frustrations or staff counseling with my staff, I wouldn't normally write you up because I would teach my staff, if I write you up, that means I'm putting you on paper. I want somebody other than me to find it. I'm probably trying to fire you. But when I have a counseling session with you and I'm willing to keep toiling with you, even though it may be stressful in certain things, it's because I know the growth in who you are is worth the wood. So I'm worth, as long as you will come to work and show up for me, I will show up for you as a manager because you're worth it. And because of that, my staff worked longer hours for me, did more for me because they realized it was more than just a job for me. So when I had that thought, just hopefully that made sense to you about people being worth the wood, this little character finally came up to me and I said, I'm going to write this book because I want that thought to go to everyone. Because there's a lot of times when people show up to work or you're dealing with people, their personalities show up. Like me, I talk to death. So if you're going to get great work out of me, but I'm going to annoy you from 9 to 5. And if I'm worth it, if I'm worth the work for you, you figure out how to get me to shut up with certain things and you just bear the conversation with certain things because you want my best self. It's the same thing when people work for you. You don't want to be that boss to be like, well, I just don't like people that talk a lot. Yeah, but she's your best worker. You get what I'm saying? And if talking is going to mean that she's going to produce the best work, let's let her give her a mic. We don't care. We're trying to get something. So that's my whole point with that. And so I wanted kids to realize that they were worth the wood. It shouldn't always be. I love the reaction I would get from people because nobody takes that time with them to say that they're worth the end result. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, if you're not doing what they want you to do for them, you're out the door and I'll replace you. And so like I said, the different work and the different lives that I've changed just with that thought, I thought to myself, if I could make this chewable for children, I could maybe potentially it could be a good book. And so that's what made the first book come along. And then once I wrote the first book, I've got tons of characters in my head. I see characters in anything. I've just been kind of chipping away at it and seeing how it's going. And like I publish it and I get somebody to read it. It's like, y'all like that? Like is that a book? That's a thing? Like so hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. So then like kind of following up with that, because you definitely talked a lot about Worth the Wood. So what was your writing process like with that? And do you think that your writing process for that one, with taking that inspiration from, work and how you incorporated that phrase you used at work, how did your writing process change with that one and your subsequent works?
So Worth the Wood came to me actually I've written that months ago. And to be fair with you, I didn't like it because I kept trying to make it to something else. And I'm one of those people that I'm a slave to my art. And I know that when you're writing something, you can have an idea of what you think it wants to be, whatever you want. But if you're a right creative, it's going to turn into what it wants to be. And so more than anything, Worth the Wood kind of just sat on a piece of paper forever because I kept looking at it and going, my original thought this is not it. This is not, but that no matter how I wrote it, I felt like it just kept pretty much coming back to that. And there was a bunch of stanzas that were taken out. I mean, you're a writer, there's stuff that comes out, you go, and that's just what it came out to be. So I sat there and I looked at it for a while, and I read it to a friend who actually had this, actually my cousin, who gave herself a challenge to read 100 children's books in a year, and she read way more than that. And so she kind of was like my little connoisseur, and I read it to her, and she was like, "This is awesome, make it a book." And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Yeah." So I do that, and then once I got that, and I got the first thought, and I realized how people took to that, it gave me the confidence to write other books, but the process was not the same in that regard. I just now knew, okay, this can be respected as a book. I need to put some more, emphasis on my other characters that I've come up with. And so that's how it kind of went from there. But each book that I wrote kind of had its own reasoning and process that it came to. Because one of the books that I wrote, which was actually I Am Greatness, I don't think I sent you that one. That was to myself. I wrote that one to myself because I have personal struggles that, like we all do, that I was overcoming. And I was like, I need to talk to the little girl in me because that's who's acting up. It's not my adult self. And so that's what I feel. Honestly, that's it, because there's that childish part of me that crosses its arms and kicks his foot up, and I'm like, I'm not. And I'm just going to let life happen. And and so I was like, I need to talk to the little girl in me because she is causing a lot of problems out here. And so that's how that book came. It just like it hits me. And I think one of the things about being a creative, and I'm having confidence to say that now that I am a creative, is that we can get hit with like 16 books at once, and you're like, are these all different stories? Because I give my mind, personality, and I'm like, are you guys all different stories for real right now, or are you like, I need to know? And at first it's a little loony, but I've learned to accept that this is my creative process, and I love it here. And I think I've been able to be more creative because I've accepted that. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Do you see why I need practice? I get all this. Sorry, that's it.
It's good. You got lots of information flowing. It's all right.
Yes.
So what do you think for you was the most difficult thing writing your books, and also what was the easiest thing with writing your books?
Okay. The easiest thing to me was writing them, because whatever was coming out was going to come out. So I write everything. That was easy. The hardest thing was figuring out what not to include, what didn't lend what I wanted that story to have. There were some really good lines that got cut. There were some really good pieces and that for me is hard because I go through, number one, I'm trying to think of what my audience thinks is good. I'm not them. So that's hard. But it's important because I want to sell it to them. Right. I have this thing that I say is I want to put the Band-Aid where it hurts. And so I don't want, no matter how much I have a message I think you need, I need to give you the message you think you need, that you're going to buy, that you're going to take your hard-earned money and say, I'm going to purchase her stuff. And as an author, we know it's our repeat buyers that make us, who we are. It's not the people who get us and walk off.
Yeah.
So I need to know that when I'm writing certain things and this message to me makes so much sense, that's not what they need. And so that is the hardest part, because again, I'll always be me from my perspective. No matter how I change my outside, no matter what I do, I'm always going to have a bias to how I see things. And yet I'm writing for the masses. So it is very, very difficult to decide what is right, appropriate, especially in today's day and age. Is this kid friendly? Are kids this smart? Is this over their heads? Will parents be offended? It can be stressful. So yeah, that's definitely the most difficult part. And I don't think that's going to change.
It's a very fine line to walk on. You're right. Yes, that is. It's very difficult. I will definitely, I'm right there with you. I agree with you. Yeah. Okay. So how do you select the names of your characters, or do they just kind of name themselves when they speak to you?
Yes. Okay. So honestly, absolutely they do. there's characters that I'm in my head like, this would be a cool name for this character, and I'm writing the book and I don't know how to explain it if you're not a writer, but you can keep calling this character that name and there's something in you that just will not sit right if it's like, that is not my name and I don't like this. And it's like, well, you're gonna be this because this is what I think is cool. And I'm like pleading in my head with my own thoughts, like, this is why this is such a great name for you. And I just keep reading and it's like, don't go. And you know how I know it's real. And I, like I said, I'm honest about it. I've owned this. I've already got somebody who loves me, so I don't have to worry about sounding cool. like, when I read the stories with the wrong name to people as they like it, and your parents, mostly me, my parents, or people around you are never going to say it's bad. They're going to say something is it. And I know in my mind already what that it's the name. It's the way I'm reading. It's something that's not registering. And then as soon as I change it, they don't know what it is. They're like, that's it. I like it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's
yeah.
So that's like, because Lumberjack forever in Worth the Wood, if you notice, his name is Lumberjack. And I was trying to give him a real name, but the book, when I was the book was letting me know when I wrote it, his name is not important. He needs to be a lumberjack because he needs to be one of anybody could have been him. Anybody in all children, it could be any child can be this person. Don't single him out by giving him a name, because a name then gives him a culture. It gives him it adds more to the character, even if you're not thinking of it. But when you simply say he was a lumberjack, he is the line of work. That means he is just like anybody else going to do a job. He just made it their choice. And I realized that, and it's crazy because the book taught me that. And I'm like,
you're like, damn, I didn't know I was that good.
And I love that. See, this is why I'm so excited we're doing this, because I'm sure to somebody who's not a writer, they're like, what is going on? Yeah. But I can look at your eyes and know you get it. Like,
yeah. But I love that thinking too, of not giving them an exact name. So in my picture book that I'm working currently on, it's called Cobb and the Kingdom, and it's the whole book is about the relationship between the two, but the kingdom doesn't have a name. It just never, like, that never felt right to me, and I never named it. And so that's what, again, like, I'm right there with you. It's very, naming something just brings that much more to it. And, again, with having an actual physical character that you want to be inclusive and have every child relate to it, not just, hey, here's Mark, like,
right.
Yes. That's awesome. I love that answer. Okay. So do you have a favorite character that you've written? Who are they and what makes them special?
So I really, really, really like Lumberjack most times. And I've got some other characters you guys don't even know about.
Yeah.
But my favorite character has not come out yet, and it is Doe. And Doe is my signature character. And that's why she hasn't come out, because I'm obsessed with her.
But you have her featured on your website, right? You have
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I do. And her poem is out about how she is and how she thinks. But in my mind, she is going to be everything that I would want a character to be. She carries the weight of being my signature character perfectly. Like, I love the personality that she has now. It's not hard to explain, but it's going to sound weird. Her book hasn't been come out yet, and it hasn't fully been written. But if you know about writing, I'm already living in her world. I'm living in her world. I'm seeing things. She's developing and coming to me in her own space. And I love what I'm seeing. I love what I'm getting. I love what's happening. And I think she's definitely going to always be my favorite character. And so that's why it was important for me to put a poem out for her, give people some idea of what she's like, what her thoughts are. And that's kind of it. Like, one thing about her is she's doing it. Like, so she's afraid, she's nervous, she's a lot of things, but regardless of whatever's going on, she's moving forward with whatever she feels. And this can be good in some instances, this can be bad in some instances, but she's doing that. And I love the fact that she's a deer, because she's rambunctious, especially for a deer. That's not something that they are categorized to be, but it's important that we teach, you know, our fawns and our kids that you're going to have to step out of being, you know, shy. Sometimes you're going to have to step out of the box and let people know who you are and make your path in life. And that's what she does. She is the helper for kids to realize it's okay to do that. So in a nutshell, she's definitely my favorite. But Lumberjack, sometimes Lumberjack's my favorite too, because I use him when I start to get discouraged, because I do about things. And I always ask myself, is it worth the wood?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and Lumberjack's like, if it's worth the wood, we chopping or what?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? You got your axe, let's go. Like, that's it.
Great. Love it. So I guess you kind of talked about this earlier. When did you first feel you were a writer? Like, I guess also too, like if there's a distinction for you between writer and author, and then when you first felt like an author.
Yes. Okay, so my grandmother is a huge writer. I say is because I don't, and she passed years ago, but I don't really do well with holding on to that. I kind of like didn't really look at her at the funeral. I keep her the way you know, I have, everybody's different. And she's with me, and I'm very big on that. You know, no, I'm not like believing she's standing here, something like that, but I'm just saying that presence. And so at 8 years old, she was a writer, and she introduced me to poetry, and I used to love to write poems. I actually won awards in school at that age. One of my teachers stole my poem book. That was really weird. Yeah, she stole it. And my grandmother was heated, and she kept saying she lost it. And we were like, if it gets published, you are going to get it.
Wow.
So that happened to me when I was younger. But ultimately, I knew I was a writer then, and I liked to write. Here is the funny thing about me writing. I love writing, and I'm a terrible, terrible, terrible writer. I am terrible with punctuation. I am terrible with the grammatics of it when I'm writing, but the story behind it, like an editor is my superpower. If I get somebody to edit for me, it's beautiful. And it's the funniest thing. It's been like that all my life. So I knew I was a writer, despite the fact that no matter how many times you teach me certain grammatics, punctuation, certain things, I suffer with that terribly. But if you can get through that and get somebody to correct what I'm trying to say, you're like, wow, that is really a beautiful masterpiece that she's putting together. So that's when I knew I was a writer. I am still nervous to say I am an author. Like, I don't know.
Hard, but you're published.
I know, and it is a very, to me, that is I know I'm a writer. If you ask me if I'm a writer, I'm like, yes. And you're like, are you an author? And I'm like, I guess that's me. We coming to the front. Like I haven't worn that crown yet. And I can't really tell you why I feel like there's such a difference. In my mind, I think of an author and I just see like this gold scepter of someone changing lives with their books. And I feel like I haven't done that. And so I'm just there with my little sprinkles. It's like, that's what I got.
Oh my God, I love that. Oh,
so that
imagery right there, I think, gives you the right to label yourself author. To say that you picture an author with a gold scepter and you're there with your sprinkles. I love that. That is amazing.
So yes. And I'm having a blast, by the way. Thank you for making this possible. I hope everybody interviews me is like you. This is awesome. But yeah, so I don't know. And I don't know why I feel like, again, that just weighs so much on me, but I really do want to earn my own respect for that so that I can confidently get to a point where I say, yes, I am an author.
Yeah. It's hard. I'm not published yet, but I have so many manuscripts written and everything. I've been forcing myself to say, like, I'm an author. And, I've had a few instances where I meet new people and they're like, oh, what do you do? And, my immediate role is, oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And then I have to backtrack and I'm like, but recently I've started writing children's books. Like, I'm forcing myself into that because it's so difficult to really, help yourself read and understand that label for yourself.
And it's hard because you go through that point where as soon as you say, I'm an author, well, yeah, have you published? And I'm like, yes. How many have you sold? And I'm like, damn it.
We're not going to talk about that.
Forgive me.
That doesn't take away.
I'm just like, I just can you just be like, it's like, do you have to pass the SATs to be, are they gonna let me in the club or not? And it's like, are you a bestseller? It's like, are you a bestseller? Is that why you're asking me that?
Right,
Do you have the keys to the kingdom? Because I need to know.
That's like saying, did you graduate high school? Yes, I did. Well, did you get straight A's? No, but I still graduated.
Yeah, I made it out. Jeez. But
right,
yes.
So a couple fun questions.
Okay.
What is your favorite writing snack?
Okay. Honestly, it varies. So if I'm in my mood where I feel like I'm writing something bougie and it's like upscale in my head, because some of my characters are, then I'm like cheese and grapes in wine. Like that is like what I'm doing. If I am doing something really, really fun, and then it's like chips or something I can mindlessly not even look at. Like it's so, because like I'm a character in general, so I have to put myself in whatever kingdom or whatever thought this is. And it's great because thank goodness I only have one housemate to drive crazy. But depending on what's going on, they come downstairs and look at me and how I'm dressed or what I'm doing. And it's just like, I'm going to
just turn around.
Because like there's times where I've got like a big like crowns. I'm really a weirdo anyway. So I've just got this extra stuff on. I'm just in my mode and it doesn't make any sense. And I love it. It's like, just let me do this. I'm creating this character. And they just kind of like, I'll see what comes out of that later. I don't know what that's going to be. So it really, the snacks, what I'm wearing, all of that just kind of goes with that mode because
it's
I'm in my world.
Whole experience.
Yes. Yes.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay. How do you celebrate when you finish writing a book?
What? Okay. Honestly, I don't even know. You know what I celebrate? I finish writing the book and then I go through this authored out that I heard apparently other people do. And I just like, this was a trash. This was a fail. I know this was a fail. This is not going to be good. Oh my gosh. I've already pushed publish. I've already done it. There's too much. And so I really don't celebrate until I get the first few reviews and the first person that was like, oh, I bought your book. And it's like, oh my gosh. And it's so crazy because I flip. So I go from, I can't believe it, to telling the person that lives with me, honestly, you're going to have to start book my time because clearly I am.
Let me adjust my crown.
I'm like, clearly I'm getting too expensive to be hanging around you.
That's right. That's right.
So that's it. Like that's literally how it is.
And so my last question is who is your biggest supporter?
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. You can say me.
What these? I'm so excited. I will say my biggest and most annoying supporter is my mother. Oh my gosh. Like I can't even express it. It's like, Mom, I wrote a book. She reads the book. I love it. My daughter's an author. She's called 1 million people. And then she's like, okay, we need the second one. And I'm like, I just finished them. Well, honey, what do you think this is going to be? I mean, people aren't going to wait for you. It's like, yes, my daughter writes books. She has 1 million books coming on the way. But right now we're starting our collection small. It's like, and it's in her mind, her baby girl wrote a book, Stop World. That's my daughter wrote a book. Like, and it's great. You know what I mean? And I love that. Like my mom could be with Simone Biles' mom, and her mom's like, look what my daughter did. She's like, that's great. And then my daughter wrote a book. And so that type of push, and she's very serious about it. I think people are so very aware that my mom is my biggest fan and she's not gonna play about it. And I think that love that she's always given me has allowed me to be a weirdo comfortably all my life because I knew who was protecting me. I had that. And so it's that same thought. Like, so as far as my biggest supporter and most annoying is definitely going to be my mother, because I know that it doesn't matter what it is. I'm cheering, and she's cheering for me. And if you're in her section, you better stand up and clap for my baby. Like, I don't care what she just did up there. You liked it. Like,
Everybody
so,
around her will be supporting you.
yeah,
That's right.
that section's active. I know that. So my mom is definitely my biggest supporter. Definitely.
Nice. I love that. Well, that's all the questions I have.
Yay!
Oh yeah, I had so much fun.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
And you made it where it wasn't so nervous. I'm hoping that I can have the same energy going forward.
Yeah.
And I would love to do this for you on the other end. If you wanted to do one, I would love to.
I'm open to that too. Yeah, I would love that. Because we clearly have, we're very simpatico. We're right there. Yes.
I'm so excited. So I thank you. I see it didn't take up much of your time. I love the fact that you even Googled questions because you cared about this. I meant to ask you, we don't have to say this on camera, you can turn that part off. But did you like the books? I did.
They were so cute. Yes. And I'm a doofus because at first I just started reading it like quietly in my head because I was trying to be quick. I definitely needed to shower first too because I hadn't showered yet today. I was a lazy bum. And so I was just trying to quickly skim it. And I'm like, oh my God, like these are poems. Like I'm not reading it like a poem. So I had to stop myself. And my two younger daughters were still at the table eating. So then I just started reading it out loud. And like they were like fully into it. And I loved that at the end of the vegan book, how you had like the questions and everything.
Yes.
And so like then I'm just continuing. So I just start reading the questions out loud. And my daughters are like answering them. It was so cute. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
And then I got to reading Lumberjack, and I love Lumberjack. I thought Lumberjack, just like you said, it has this great message of being worth the wood for you yourself, being worth the wood, but also finding other things that are worth the wood.
Yes.
And my oldest had disappeared in between me reading those two, but my youngest was still there. And like, she ended up leaving her seat and walking around. She's like standing next to me because she wanted to see the pictures too. Oh, my husband is literally like trying to feed her. It's like, you got to keep eating. Like, don't stop eating your dinner. And then we again got to the questions that you had. Like, I love that you have those questions at the end. I think that's really awesome. Because again, like it really does help reinforce those messages that you have. Yeah.
Oh, this is... And to be honest, this is what you do it for as an author. You hear that, and now I feel I'm back at my bougie moment where I feel spent. I can tell I made my purpose beam me up, Scotty. Like I've done it. Like that's all, because that's all you do. You do it so you can. If somebody can get it, then it works. And so I cannot wait to, whenever you get a chance, I would love to read your books. I'd love to support you. And if we want to do an interview just while you're in your transition, because I know you were saying right now you're still looking at some things, I definitely would like to ask you some upcoming questions about how your mind's working.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, we'll have to set something up for sure. Yes. All right, so I will stop recording now.
Yes.
If I can figure this out.